Hello my little caribou and welcome to CDQ. Today let's wrap up my month of July and August, or May or June. July have been a rough month, well at least the two last week of July, so basically half the month. I couldn't read almost at all during that time for reason I will get into. And August was even worse. As usual, my reading format for start, I read almost exclusively physical. I'm at 90% physical, up from 82% last month. Only read one audiobook this month, Survivor Song, that I read for the Summerween Bookathon. It's an hour book. I did a dedicated video on Summerween and what I read during it, so for any book that I read during that time, I will direct you for this to have my opinion on it. For August, well, it was all physical. Continuing with the mood of my reading this month, Dark make a strong comeback, mostly because of, well, Summerween, so I read a lot of horror books, so it makes a lot of sense. As an extension of that, mystery, tension are pretty high as well. Emotional and a light-hearted too, but that was mostly because of Heartstopper. I read 3 of those. I am finally caught up with this series and I'm preparing a video on that, so you will have to wait for my opinion on that. Bear in mind that mood, like a lot of things, are user added on Storygraph, so some book might be in a weird category, like funny. This is because of One Piece Omnibus Volume 5 that I read, that is considered funny by the general readership. Don't get me wrong, One Piece is kind of funny from time to time, but would I classify it as a funny book? Not really, not enough to put a tag on it anyway. Regarding pace, it was mostly fast because of stuff like Heartstopper, and 1/4 medium with my horror reading, lots of manga in August, so as well mostly fast. For the length of the book that I read, more than half of them were in the 300 to 499 page range. Good size book, but it's again mostly Heartstopper and a couple other things. I also read a couple of shorter horror books during Summerween. Again, I won't talk about those here because, well, there's the video for that. I won't really talk about the audiobook length as I only read one, so I don't think it would be very interesting. I was supposed to read one other book. I wanted to read the audiobook of the Ozzy autobiography. I wasn't sure if I'm going to read it or listen to it, but then my cat got sick, so I pushed it even more toward the end of the month, and then Ozzy died as well, and I'm still devastated by that. I'm kind of okay now, but I'm not sure I'm strong enough to read it as of now, so I'm pushing it back even further. He was my favorite artist. For the past year, he has been my most listened to artist, most listened album, most listened song in general, so yeah, pretty hard. I will still pre-order his newer autobiography that is coming in October. I just don't know when I will be reading it, and I'm still don't know if I will get the audiobook, but I will get the book anyway. I have read literally only fiction this month after I said I wanted to be around 10% non-fiction, so you gain some, you lose some. But on a more positive note, let's talk about the genre. I read the most this one. Without any surprise, I announced it last month. LGBTQIA+ and young adult are at the top, mostly because of Heartstopper. Horror and graphic novel are on par with those two. Graphic novel, not big surprise, mostly because of Heartstopper and other things. You will have to wait for that. Horror is more surprising, believe it or not, because I decided to do summer readathon kind of last minute, so I didn't expect to read that much horror in July. I really enjoyed it, and I will be preparing for next year. I also think I heard from Literary Leo that there is another one in the winter, so I will probably do that as well. I love horror, and every excuse is good to read it. On that note, because yeah, this is spooky season starting, so brace yourselves. So all the way through October and November, starting even now in September, it's spooky season for me, so I'm starting to read a lot of horror books, and video are coming your way on that. So a quadra equality, and after that we have a tri-equality with romance, fantasy and contemporary. What the hell is contemporary anyway? Again, most of that is Heartstopper, A couple of my horror reading also fall into fantasy umbrella, that's why it's that high. With what I said so far in this video, I think you won't be surprised anyway to see that Alice Osman is the author that I read the most this month, with, of course, Heartstopper. I won't talk about the series here, like I said, I'm preparing a video on that, but don't hold your breath, I don't know when it is gonna be ready. It's still in the writing stage. Overall, I really love their writing. I have not organized all my thoughts yet, but Osman writes with so much nuance and represent a developing love story in a realistic, relatable way. It brings you back to at that age when you start to understand your feelings, even if I can only partially relate, as I've only been with women. I don't know their personal life, but they also write depression in a way. It's spot on, and you might see yourself through those pages. It may come from personal experience, but then again, I don't know, and this is an interview that they didn't get a diagnosis for depression, but in the meantime, throughout teenage years, they felt mostly sad all the time and crying a lot of nights, so technically no, but sure looks like it. Let's talk a little bit about August, just a little bit. The stat for that month doesn't really matter because of the small quantity of book I read compared to other months. Overall, the book that I read were emotionally funny and hopeful, mostly fast-paced, two-third non-fiction, LGBTQIA+, religion, history, manga. Now it's time for the July book scale, from the one I least like to the one I most like. Before getting to the scale proper, one DNF this month. This is really rare for me to DNF a book, but it happened. The Last Final Girl from Stephen Graham Jones. I'm gonna put it on the other side. It was my first book of him, so I will not let that dictate what I think of him just yet. Replaced in the context of his other books, this is the least liked book overall from him, so I think I'm not alone. This will not be really long because my opinion is really simple. I couldn't get into the story at all because I was too distracted by the reference to horror movie. There was too much reference and there were too much in your face, not subtle at all. That kept pulling me up. I didn't give the book a big chance, I admit, but after about 50 pages or exactly 25% of the book, I didn't really know what's going on or who the character was and what they were doing because the reference kept pulling me out of the story. So, DNF. I wanted to get a bit more into detail because I decided to DNF it after I recorded my video on Summerween, but overall this video is really complete. So for other books I read during Summerween, I will direct you to that video. Now let's get into the book that I actually finished. Starting at the bottom of the barrel from this month, we have Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay, my first from Paul Tremblay. Lot of first this month, and another that I didn't really like, but at least I finished it. I read this for Summerween too, so you will have to go to that video for the details, but I will say that I had the audiobook. The concept is interesting, but overall it was so-so. I would say not completely pass, but don't rush to get it. Following this, we have yet another book that I read for Summerween. The first one that I read actually for that week, Saw Kill Girl by Claire Legrand. Right off the bat, I have to say that my review of it in the Summerween video was wrong. It is a YA book, but I didn't realize that before reading and not before recording the video, and that changes everything. My vision of the book was wrong, so my experience were wrong. It might have been higher in the list. I might have liked it better if I knew before reading it. I like to be careful with this, but mistakes happen, and I will be looking at that when more closer in the future so it don't happen again. So it's not scary, but then again it's YA. The setting is good. There is an investigation. I don't want to spoil you, so I will end this here. This is easy to read, so not scary, but I want to get back in. You want to get back to it quickly, so despite being lower in my July list, I really recommend it. One Piece Volume 5 by Eiichiro Oda. My first big episode of Volume 1 and 2 was extremely well received. Thanks to you for that. With over 3,000 combined views, yes, it's a huge response. I want to do the other as well if I have the time at one point, so I won't say a lot here. In this one, they start the fight with against Baroque War, the mystery mercenary group that will span several omnibuses. This is a mega storyline. The first one, I think, because before we had storylines spanning several individual volumes but not several omnibus. Bird Box by Josh Malerman. I read that during Summerween and I also saw the movie, so both of those will be in the Summerween video. If I remember it correctly, this is the first time I talk about a movie because lack of time. Further into this episode, I'll talk about another, so yay. I wanted to talk about movie for a long time, but I will continue to concentrate on book mostly. Next, we have Heartstopper Volume 3. If you are looking for a great romance YA graphic novel, this is the series I recommend. Follow Me to Ground by Sue Rainsford. No words are missing from that title. Again, part of my Summerween reading, I don't understand a lot about it, and that's the point, I think. Quick to read, but I warn you, it contains body horror, so not for everyone. Heartstopper Volume 4. The more I get into these volumes, the more I like them. Now we enter the top 3. Yes, I have read a bit less this month, so it's top 3 and no honorable mention. Heartstopper Volume 5, my favorite of the series so far, and there is more coming, and I am very excited for that. Anyway, True Woods by E.M. Carroll. I read that as part of Summerween, so you will have to go to the dedicated video, but overall it was the best I read during the bookathon. Graphic novel, and this one was really horror, like really. A series of unfortunate events, volume 13, The End by Lemony Snicket. This journey is coming to an end, quite literally. I spent a good chunk of my year on that series, so like the others, fiction, middle grade, gothic atmosphere. Like for the other one, there will be a separate video. On this one, I really liked it overall. Before moving on, I've watched a movie, and it is best to place it here because it's a link to The End. A series of unfortunate events, the movie made in 2004, directed by Brent Silberling. This movie has an incredible stacked cast: Jim Carrey, Jude Law, Meryl Streep, Timothy Spall, Catherine O'Hara, Jennifer Cooling, Bob Clenning, Louis Guzman, Emily Browning. Hey, the children have done not much since then, but they did a good job. The movie tells the story of the 3 first books: Bad Beginning, The Reptile Room, The Wide Window, in not necessarily the right order, and it invents a few unfortunate events, but it works. This movie have a couple of problems. Count Olaf is just Jim Carrey. He's good, but it's just him. Count Olaf, these guys are sometimes too good also. They are supposed to be pathetic. Klaus, Liam Enken grow like a foot during production, which is a little weird. They try also to cram 3 books inside in one sub 2-hour movie, which works, but some characters don't have a lot of screen time. And I'm not only saying that because I really love Uncle Monty and he got almost no screen time. But it also have lots of quality which make me sad that they did not do the rest of the series. Plus the rating was kind of high, so I don't know why. The acting of the children is good, which tend to be rare among child actors. I complain about Jim Carrey, but it's only because I really like Neil Patrick Harris as Olaf in the series. I saw it first, but it works well. The gothic atmosphere is really well depicted. Some of the shots are absolutely stunning, and it won several awards: Best Makeup, Best Hairstyle, Best Music, Best Period Movie, Best Movie Bad Guy, Best Title Sequence, Best Actress in Emily Browning, Violet, and was nominated for literally everything else: Art Direction, Costume Design, Best DVD Special Edition, Best Fantasy Film, Best Young Actor in Liam Aiken Klaus, Best Performing Actress Teen or Younger with Shelby and Kara Hoffman. Sunny, yes, it's common for baby to take twins because work hours law. Cinematography, editing, production design, official film website. For some reason, that's a category. So yes, the film has been well received, like I said, and with reason. If you like dark story with some humor and Jim Carrey, I would say watch it. That's all for July. Now for August. It will be fast because there is a little less than usual, to say the least. But the ordering is a bit hard to do because they are so different, so very difficult to compare. One Piece Omnibus Volume 6 from Ishiro Oda. I won't talk about this here because I'm gonna do a video on it. It's a continuation of the previous storyline. Next is One Piece Omnibus 7, so same thing. Next is Japanese Myths, Heroes, God, Demons and Legends by Melanie Clegg. With this name you can guess it's non-fiction. This is literally what it says. It's divided in 5 sections: creation myths and cosmology, kami and other spirits and deities, heroes and legend, mythological creature and object, ghost and urban legend. This book is a bit more than an introduction to Japanese myths. It's fairly complete overall, so I don't know if this is the first one that I would recommend if you're just starting, but it's still pretty good. Really interesting. But it covers pretty much everything, so not a bad place to start either. I have another specifically on sword and armor, so a little bit more narrow field. So if you're interested in specific aspects of it, maybe check for another option. There is a lot out there. In this one, there is a lot of illustration of artists' prints and everything, so if you like Japanese traditional art, there is something for you too in there. Finally, we have another manga that is not One Piece, My Brother Husband by Gangora Tagame. I really like it, so I will be making a dedicated video to it later, but I would say that I never saw something quite like this in terms of the format of it. They combine all the volume into one. I am also currently reading The Heron Diary, A Year into the Life of a Shadow Rockstar by Nikki Six. I'm not done, I actually had to stop. Not that I will DNF it, no. It's super interesting and I will definitely finish it, but I need a little break because it is super dense and heavy to read, since it's basically him talking about his past addict problems, specifically in his worst year. So I will talk more about that when I will finish it, but I will definitely finish it and do a video about it. So it have been a hard couple of months. I started the month of July great with the Summerween, and I'll do most of the books that I selected were okay at best. It was a great experience. See the dedicated video for details. So after that, it was a succession of unfortunate events in my life that made the two last week of the month basically. I couldn't read. My cat Oz got sick. Everything that could go wrong got wrong, and then Ozzy died. So. And no, my cat is not named after Ozzy Osbourne, he's named after a werewolf though. So I read Real Husband then with my previous month, but with shorter books and the readathon, it helped me reach a higher number, so I read 10 books and 3,300 pages and 8-9 hours of audiobook in that range. Average time to finish fairly low because of the first part of the month, 3 months. What I chose to read really helped with that. July was overall not that bad, and through all that I successfully kept my strike, my reading strike of 334 days, but with a minimum of 1 page a day. That Finishing off with August, I read 4 books with 1,500 pages and an average time to finish of 7 days. So way less than previous month, but I try to keep it together as best as I can considering the circumstances. For the month of July, we have a 3-sided battle for my favorite book I have in hands. Through the Wood, Heartstopper 5, and The End. My favorite book of the month is Through the Wood. Through the Wood. So I read this because Summerween, and it was the best horror that I read during Summerween. It was a graphic novel, and so we will talk about that later this year. Trouble with my piles, boy. For the month of August, it's hard because what I read was really not comparable, but the one I enjoyed the most would be My Brother's Husband, and I will be doing a video on that as quickly as I can. Currently, I'm like 2 or 3 months behind, so quickly is very relative. And with that, this video is coming to an end. I have plenty more in preparation, so subscribe, like and share. And don't hesitate to leave a comment, tell me what you think if you read one of those. That's all for me, until next time for another book. Ciao! The complete wrap-up is on my channel in both English and French, go check it out now.